Good afternoon. I call this business meeting to order. Today, the committee will consider S-1720 through the Truth and Healing Commission on Indian Boarding School Policies Act. Senator Warren's bipartisan bill will create a commission to investigate, document, and report on the histories of Indian boarding schools, Indian boarding school policies, and their systemic and long-term effects on Native peoples. The bill will also direct the Commission to develop recommendations for future federal action and support healing for survivors of Indian boarding schools and their descendants. It currently has 28 co-sponsors in the Senate. Last Congress, the committee held a legislative hearing to consider an identical version of S-1723. We also examined the Department of Interior's Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative and its first investigative report on the historical boarding school system. It was a powerful hearing. Interior Secretary Holland, along with tribal leaders and advocates, spoke frankly about the brutal attempted assimilation of American Indian, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian children at these schools, where children as young as 3 years old endured physical, sexual, and psychological abuse. For over a century, the federal government knowingly perpetuated violence and trauma with the goal of assimilating Native children by destroying their languages, their cultures, and their very identities. The impacts of this shameful history are felt by survivors and their descendants to this day. We must do all we can to right this grievous wrong. The committee received testimony for the record from more than 100 survivors, descendants, tribal leaders, advocates, churches, local governments, and experts after our hearing. For nearly a year, we worked directly with Native communities and subject matter experts, including the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition and the former Canadian Senator and Commissioner of the Canadian Truth and Reconciliation Commission, collecting feedback and ideas on how Congress could help to chart a path forward for truth and for healing. And so at Senator Warren's request, Senator Murkowski and I filed an amendment in the nature of a substitute to this bill that reflects the committee's work and close collaboration with Native communities across the country. Without their guidance and support, a culturally respectful and meaningful path to truth and healing would not be possible. I will now turn to the Vice Chair for her opening statement.